All right, everybody, welcome back to the Dallas Sheridan, the NFL Media Center. I'm Ellis Cannon. You're watching by way of elliscannon.com, pittsburghsportsreport.com, or perhaps the portal at pacyber.org. Joining me right now, Demarco Farr. Always a huge fan of Demarco Farr, television and in the league, and I'm not making it up. I hope that you had the opportunity to catch what he was like, almost like a kid, when he had the opportunity to catch up with the author of the California Quake and future guest on the program, Butch Johnson. Back to you, Demarco. How are you?
I am great. I'm great.
Yeah, you look like you're having a lot of fun.
Super Week has been awesome. We met some really great people, talked to some really awesome people, Marissa Miller, Earl Campbell. Right. But, I mean, I just got an autograph from Butch Johnson, man. I mean, you can't get much better than that.
Exactly. I mean, to you in particular, you were saying to us before we started that you got in trouble as a schoolboy over this. What's up?
Well, see, I was one of those kids that grew up loving football. I mean, I watched football, played football. It's all I wanted to do as a kid. I carried a football, around 24/7. And when I when I was in elementary school and I'd play football at recess, scored a touchdown one day, and I did the California Quake a la Butch Johnson.
Sure.
And the PE teacher sent me home, suspended me because she thought I was doing something obscene, and I'm like, I'm just doing Butch Johnson. My mother had to send a note. No, he's just emulating his favorite player. He's not doing anything obscene. So that was really, really cool to meet him.
Very much. All right, now I want to. I watched it. It was genuine and sincere, and you were excited all the way. You mentioned about the old school turf shoes as well. I mean, they look like they could grip onto anything, like the side of a mountain. I
mean, and look at the old school AstroTurf. It looks like a carpet. So football has come a long, long way.
Yeah, considering there's marble underneath that.
Yeah, right.
Concrete. I mean, I'm in Three Rivers Stadium. You'd walk on that, it would hurt to just walk on it. I mean, it was tough. And of course, when you played, it had gotten a little bit better, but as you're, I think, alluding to right now with all the rubber underneath it, it's a little bit softer.
Yeah, I think we've probably reached the max point of AstroTurf and artificial surfaces. So that's done. Now we can just improve helmet safety. Maybe we can start protecting players' brains a little bit more.
Yeah, we had a guest on today, Chris Nowinski, who's very heavily involved in that, and there's some breaking news on it, and of course it can only get better. I mean, there's a lot of research and money being thrown toward that. But what are you doing, man? I got to be honest with you. When I saw you, and I knew we had the opportunity to nab you, I want to talk a moment or two about the game, but I want to talk about your career. And again, there's that cyber audience out there that I think can learn about seizing opportunities, leveraging opportunities, and getting into a business when maybe a lot of people would not consider that the traditional route. I think there's a lot of ways in right now.
Well, for me, it was just a natural progression, leaving the game, and my body gave out, but my heart and my brain, is still in it. So, how can I stay around the game that I love? Like I said, I'm still that kid that carries a Nerf football around. Yeah. So, I left football, went and did the Best Damn Sports Show, out in LA, and it's been a wonderful ride for me, you know, and I think I found a home on radio. I love TV. I love doing studio shows. I love giving those sound bites, but radio is a place where you really get to express yourself. I really get to just pour out my heart on air, and it's just so much fun. The one thing people say when they listen to me on the radio, they say is it's really obvious, painfully obvious how much I love this game.
Yeah, well, and again, but that's passion. That's something that I tell the kids no matter what they do. Yeah. Anybody I say this to, it's about passion. It's about energy. It's about the commitment and the preparation and all those types of things. And
endless preparation.
Endless. And as I tell them as well, we use an iceberg as a mascot in the class. And again, we have a portion of the class watch right now, or a portion of the audience is dedicated to the class, so I don't want to go too far there. But I will say this. We use the iceberg because I often tell them 90% is all the work. Mm-hmm. People only see, read, or hear the 10% on top. They got to be prepared to do the 90 if they want the 10.
Yeah, I'm a notorious over-preparer. Yeah, I just keep doing it because you never know what you're going to need. But, like you said, you only use 10% of what you research, but it always pays to be prepared. Right. So, and that's the love of it, and that's the work of it. Right. I think people think, and some of my former teammates or players, they think it's just getting in front of a camera and going. The real love, the real passion comes from your prep and getting ready to go on camera.
I agree. Now, of course, you were in the Pro Bowl in '99. You were you're a Super Bowl winning member, Super Bowl 36, which was special. Your career, I always thought, was one that was obviously very solid and ultimately ended up in a Super Bowl. When you look at it now and you watch these guys, how much do you get that feeling of, man, I see myself back in that setting? How much do you put yourself, at least mentally, back into that spot?
Oh, wow. Well, I try to look at both teams and, watching Pittsburgh come out on media day, watching Green Bay come out, and I try to put myself in that situation. What was I thinking right then? And I hope, and if they ask, I'll tell them, enjoy the moment because it's so fast.
Yeah.
And you never know when you're going to be back, so enjoy the moment. But, there's not a day that goes by, especially when I watch teams, win and lose. They're knocked out of the playoffs, that I don't look at this ring that I've earned and go, thank God.
Yeah.
It takes the weight off. I mean, there are guys that I met, some great players that never had an opportunity, never even had the opportunity to play in this game. So, it just makes you realize how blessed you are.
Right. We have a question coming at you, but I want to ask you about the game itself. I, by the way, for the record, loved your work on Best Damn. I thought it was great. I did. I thought the show went sideways, ultimately backwards, and I thought you were a big part of keeping it forward. However, the game, everybody wants to look at the passing. Everybody looks at the quarterbacks. I get all that. I'm guilty of it as well. But I learned a long time ago, offensive line, defensive line, that's where it happens. That's what the basics are, and that's ultimately is where I think games go. Talk about some of the matchups you see there.
Well, that's why I think the Steelers are going to win. I'll just say that right off the top. I think their defensive line is better than Green Bay's. And Green Bay has a great defense. They're very respectable. They can get after the quarterback. I just think, and I'll give you a name, Casey Hampton. I don't think they're going to be able to move him. And if you can't move him, you can't run the football, which means that's going to put all the pressure, all the heat on Aaron Rodgers. Now, he can handle it, but it would be up to Aaron Rodgers to be Aaron Rodgers. He's going to have to play his best football game. If he's not able to be as elusive as he has been throughout the playoffs and the regular season, then he'll be a sitting duck back there. Now, another thing that gets me thinking it's going to be the Steelers is the surface. I know that most people think it's going to enhance the Green Bay offense. I think it's going to super enhance the Pittsburgh Steelers pass rush and their defense with their blitz game. Casey Hampton on AstroTurf is absolutely a monster. He loves to play on that surface. So that's why I'm saying those two things are going to tell me I don't think both teams are going to be able to score 30 points, over 30 points in this football game, and that's Steeler football.
Yeah, right.
So the way I see this game ending up is the Steelers making a big stop at the end to save the day, and Ben Roethlisberger grinding out the clock at the end in victory formation. And we're sitting here at the end of the day talking about what a great head coach Mike Tomlin is.
Oh, yeah, and I think he already qualifies. I mean, obviously the first and only coach to be here twice under 40 years old and the youngest to win the ring. And this year, it's amazing to me now that you went there. Demarco, the guy doesn't get a vote for Coach of the Year. Now, I'm not saying this in any partisan way. I can't understand that, let alone accept that. I mean, I literally don't understand how you have as big a story in the offseason as anybody in the league in dealing with Ben Roethlisberger. Then you don't have him. You have a plethora of injuries. Everybody does, but he obviously had a lot of those. There were and then to win like they did and not get a vote. I mean, I have all the love for Belichick and for what happened to Kansas City and in Tampa. Got to get a vote.
Yeah, but if you ask Mike Tomlin, he could probably care less. Right. I mean, the only thing that he cares about is winning. That's Steeler football. Right. And I heard a great saying, only Steelers play for the Steelers. They have the same mentality. They don't care about Pro Bowls. They don't care about rushing titles. All they care about is winning Lombardi trophies. So that would be his focus. But I'm not going to take anything away from Bill Belichick. I mean, with all the young players, the rookies that he lined up with.
21 undrafted players.
And to be as good as they were during the regular season. For a minute, we were talking about the Patriots as the best team in the league. So, I mean, I'm sure Mike Tomlin is deserving. Mike McCarthy is deserving. Bill Belichick is deserving as well.
Oh, yeah, I thought that, yeah, and I would go with Belichick. I just made the point, just because I'd go with him doesn't mean other guys don't deserve it. We have a question for DeMarco, and we'll let him scram.
Yeah, Philly Dog wants to know what it was like playing for Vermeil.
Oh, Philly Dog wants to know about playing.
Well, Philly Dog, you're telling me where you're from with Philly. I mean, Dick Vermeil is more than a coach. I mean, he's more than a coach. He's a father figure. He's a mentor. I mean, he could be your priest. He could be your psychiatrist. Yeah. I mean, he's everything. It's more about who you are as a person, and then let's go play football. I mean, seeing him again, it's emotional. I'll tell you a quick story. I mean, when we were together 3 years in St. Louis, and you'd have some good days, some bad days in life. I'd show up with a long look on my face for whatever reason. I'd go home. He'd already be there at my house waiting for me.
Is that
This is after practice. Coach, what are you doing here? Well, you didn't seem like yourself. I wanted to make sure you were okay. Stunned. I'm stunned.
Yeah, I mean, it's that type of thing that I suspect is the greatest bond. Not just camaraderie. That's beyond having a few laughs. I mean, that's a special relationship.
Well, it's deep. I mean, but think about what that does for you as a player, when he lays out a plan to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he's going through these 3-hour practices that are absolutely grueling. I mean, just tough practices. And he tells you at the end of the day, this is going to make you a better player. If those that remain will win a Super Bowl. I mean, that stuff gets you to believe, and then when you do it, it's the ultimate prize.
All right. Well, you know what, Demarco, very generous with your time. I want you to be able to go back and put that on the mantle somewhere. And if you don't mind, we've been getting everybody in a new tradition to sign our newspaper. We publish the Pittsburgh Sports Report, and if you could be kind enough to give us an autograph, we'd certainly appreciate that and let you get out of the way.
No problem.
But great job and continued success. And you're on radio where in St. Louis?
St. Louis, 101 ESPN, and I also do color on radio for the Rams. So I'm about as close as you can get without getting hit.
Nice. That's a good point.